The first video I made was on full body training being number one. All of my original programs were full body, and I developed 90% of my physique by following it almost exclusively until 2020. That's when I started experimenting with different routines, but even then, it was purely out of training enjoyment, not due to physiology or lack of gains. Full body training can take you to the pinnacle of natural bodybuilding, just as it did during the Silver Era. There's no reason to ever deviate away from it, especially now that exercise science has confirmed its effectiveness. In fact, we can argue that a properly programmed full body split is the best, as it checks all the right boxes: ideal training frequency, minimal junk volume, and synergistic recovery. The optimal bros are finally on board, but I've been a decade ahead of the curve. So in today's video, I'll be addressing the most common misconceptions about full body training, mistakes that most newcomers make when trying to run it. First of all, the goal of full body is not to train every muscle in a single session. It's not some glorified split where in one workout you hit all the muscles from different angles, cram in tons of accessory work, and end up doing over 10 exercises. That's why so many lifters who built their physiques on splits and refuse to change talk so much smack about full body training. They'll say things like, "Those workouts are gonna take way too long. You'll be in the gym for 2 hours and completely exhausted, unable to focus on your muscles." Of course, that would be true if their idea of full body training reflected what's actually practiced. But in the real world, no one is combining a full chest, back, and leg workout into some ultimate punisher session. Fatigue in that case would obviously be way too high, not to mention the excessive overlap and volume. So please understand that full body training isn't about combining an upper-lower split plus a leg day, or push-pull legs all into one. That's the number one misconception about full body training, and following that will leave you completely drained. You cannot train like that consistently or for very long. Full body training is about reducing the number of exercises by at least 2 to 3 times. Think of it as doing about a third of what you typically pack into a high volume split workout. This means you have to be very selective with your exercises and overall volume. Yes, there's more room for error, but if you follow the simple rule of dividing a body part split into multiple sessions, basically spreading out similar total volume, this is where you can potentially make superior gains. Over the long term, this provides more opportunities for growth while reducing muscle atrophy, which happens faster than you realize. The net hypertrophic gain on paper should be greater. Of course, short-term studies can never capture these benefits because muscle growth is such a slow process, especially in actual trained lifters, not those benching 225 for a 1 rep max. So after several years of full body training, you could realistically gain an extra half pound of muscle per year. Over 5 years, that's an additional 2.5 pounds of muscle, essentially saving you a full year of progress. For those trying to milk every last bit of gains, this is absolutely worth calculating, contrary to what the charts show. Now, do you see why playing the long game matters? An 8-week study ain't gonna tell you shit. The same goes for staying injury free. We want the best progress with the least amount of aches and pains, not speed running the process and getting injured. This is where full body training shines. The entire body recovers together because we only have one nervous system, and it doesn't require living in the gym. Take the classic 3 times a week split, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You get 4 recovery days each week while still benefiting from 3 potent doses of muscle protein synthesis. That is 100% sustainable and is considered to be maximally hypertrophic. And if you prefer a twice a week full body program, you'll achieve the best possible recovery between sessions, with 5 full recovery days and 72 hours between sessions. However, those workouts will be tougher and require slightly more volume to compensate, so prepare for war. As for 4 times a week full body, I don't typically recommend it. The volume and intensity is harder to manage, and it leaves less room for auto-regulation, so you'll probably need more deloads. Plus, it inevitably becomes asynchronous, training every other day indefinitely, and it doesn't allow for weekends off, which is far less sustainable for the average full body enjoyers. Heck, speaking as someone who does this for a living, even I wouldn't want to train 4 times a week full body, so I know that most wouldn't either, unless it's light cardio or doing an accessory day. Let's be real here. This practicality is also what makes upper-lower splits so appealing. They're the second best option for most lifters, offering a great balance between recovery and training frequency. So full body training is all about simplicity, dividing your weekly sets across a number of training days. For example, if you normally do 3 compound movements per muscle in one workout, like in a push-pull leg split, scale it back to 1 compound movement per muscle for full body, and apply this to all muscle groups. The key benefit is that one hard set performed 3 times a week stimulates more muscle growth than doing 3 sets once a week. Let me say that again. One hard set done 3 times a week is more hypertrophic than doing 3 sets just once a week. This is because the first set of an exercise is always the most stimulating. Each additional set doesn't equally scale the stimulus. It takes 3 to 5 times the effort to achieve diminishing returns. But that deeper recovery hole also forces you to reduce your training frequency. So instead of annihilating yourself in one workout, focus on frequently hitting 1 or 2 high-quality sets on multiple workouts. This often outperforms equated volumes of less stimulating sets and can even rival doing more volume. In this case, quality beats quantity. Because of this, full-body workouts should not be high volume. This is the one significant adjustment I would make to many old-school full-body programs, which often prescribe 5x5 protocols for multiple exercises. I believe slashing that volume in half would be a lot more effective. So start there. And as you get stronger, doing that much volume becomes overkill anyway, due to the disproportionately higher fatigue from heavier loads, especially when training legs, as in doing RDLs or squats in the 4 to 5 plate range. For heavy, axially loaded compounds, even 1 set can be enough. This makes it easier to complete a full body workout while leaving energy in the tank for the upper body work that follows. For lighter accessory movements or exercises where your strength isn't at an elite level, you can certainly do more sets. The key is to evenly distribute your weekly volume across a number of sessions. For example, if you normally do 6 sets per muscle group, perform 2 sets 3 times a week, likely optimal is my #1 recommendation, or perform 3 sets twice a week. This volume can also be split across different exercises for variety or to account for absolute load. For example, you could do 1 set of back squats and 1 set of belt squats, instead of doing 2 sets on just 1 squat variation. In this case, push to failure to maximize the stimulus, or just do 2 sets of back squats with an additional rep in the tank, and leave the remaining work for another day. You can customize this based on your goals and recovery, so long as the total weekly sets balance out. Another example, if you're doing full body training 3 times a week, this could mean 6 quad exercises at 1 set each, or 3 quad exercises at 2 sets each. Personally, I prefer 2 sets per exercise. It becomes less complicated since there's less redundant exercises to worry about. This also allows for the use of techniques like a top set and back down set approach, or regular double progression with straight sets. And of course, you can leave more reps in reserve, which ultimately improve recovery. So the simplicity of full body training lies in splitting the weekly sets through frequency. By scaling back from something like 3 compound movements per muscle in a single push-pull legs workout to just 1 per session, you can maintain quality and optimize recovery. Regarding rep ranges, avoid abusing high reps that leave you too exhausted to finish the rest of your full body workout. Unless it's something like breathing squats, which are intentionally brutal and is only 1 set, high reps can kill your full body work capacity if you're not used to it. Remember, the muscular stimulus is about the same, but you will end up far more fatigued. And keep in mind, you still have multiple muscles to go through. Do not put yourself in a situation where some of those muscles are being half-assed. That's why lower to moderate rep ranges make more sense for full body training. And for novices, sticking to 4 to 6 reps ensures high effort without requiring you to train to failure or gas yourself out before tackling on the harder parts of your workout. Reps of 5 to 8 are also a strong recommendation for this reason. Unless you're trying to maximize stimulus with lighter weights because you're extremely strong and have been doing full body for a long time, going above 12 reps should be something you build up to, or rather limit to select movements. If your full body program is filled with 3 sets of 12 to 15 on many exercises, you're setting yourself up for a rude awakening. Like, you'll need to have work capacity of the gods to survive that, probably being a former athlete or having competed in endurance sports, because there's also a pain tolerance factor, and full body is painful from top to bottom. So at most, I would suggest 3 sets of 8 to 12 for easier isolation movements. But in general, for practicality and sustainability, 6 to 10 reps is the sweet spot. Gains-wise, you will end up in the same place, but this minimizes unnecessary fatigue. That way, you won't find yourself complaining that full body training is too hard to stick with. Very important. And again, structure-wise, you don't need to train every single movement pattern in a single session. Full body training is not a complete upper-lower plus a leg day. You can absolutely include smaller muscles or accessories while still calling it full body. For example, you could skip vertical presses but still do lateral raises. The shoulders will hit, not to mention the indirect work from horizontal presses. Or you might only do sissy squats or leg curls without squatting. Or one day a hinge, one day a squat, like a quads only and posterior chain only split. Back in the day, I would often do just that, opening with heavy hinging and ending with reverse hypers, skipping quads entirely for that session. There's no rule that says every movement pattern has to be hit equally every single workout. You can even add a split leg component to your full body training. For example, if you do incline bench and weighted dips, save flat bench and OHP for another day. It doesn't matter if your pressing volume isn't perfectly balanced between vertical and horizontal pushing in one session. As long as everything was addressed by the end of the week, you're good. You could even fill in the gaps with isolations. In this example, day 1 might include shoulder isolation, but no chest isolation, while day 2 could focus on chest isolation without isolating the delts again. Unless your total weekly volume for delts still is not equated. This belief comes from the powerlifting world, but it doesn't necessarily apply to bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, factors like muscular overlap and biasing exist. For example, if I do a weighted chin-up and a lat bias row, like an underhand row with tucked elbows pulling low to the belly button, even if I include 2 horizontal presses in that same workout, it doesn't mean I've messed up the balance. Or vice versa, like doing 2 upper back bias rows and 2 vertical presses. Remember, it's only one session. You still have 2 more sessions to complement the compounds or go harder on accessories. And in the extreme case, even if you don't perfectly balance things across the week, it's still full body training. And no one can argue against that. If all you did was a brutal upper body workout and just 1 squat at the very end, that's still full body, even if it's minimalist and not optimal for the legs. And for advanced lifters, if you have specific physique needs, your volume doesn't need to be equal for every muscle. This is where some lifters overthink things and lose their damn minds. It's also why split routines don't perform as poorly as you'd expect in meta-analyses. You're not really training each muscle just once a week. Even indirect volume through minimal work helps maintain muscle. And it doesn't take much volume to maintain. Recognizing this applies to full body training as well. It takes the pressure off trying to hit every odd angle and function in one session. You could have a big upper body session and throw in squats or hinges at the end, or start with them. Maybe do good mornings one day and belt squats later in the week. Or you could skip those entirely and do sissy squats for the rectus femoris. The point is to focus on max 2 big movements per muscle to avoid unnecessary fatigue. At the end of the day, full body training is flexible and effective. Nothing is limited. That's on you. And this includes the muscle priority principle. With full body training, you'll want to train your weakest or least aesthetic muscles first, saving the less important work for later as fatigue naturally sets in. This is how you get the benefits of a body part split within the full body framework. Specialize in the beginning, then structure the rest of your workout as normal. For example, if your calves are a weak point, start your workout with calf raises. Don't leave them for the end when you're exhausted only to half-heartedly pump out some bouncy, lightweight reps, then blame bad calf genetics for your lack of results. If quads are your weak point, your first exercise should absolutely be a squat. On the other hand, if quads are a strong point or your lower body dominant, place them at the very end. It doesn't matter if motor unit recruitment is lower at that point. If arms are your weak point, begin with curls and or overhead extensions. This is exactly what Leroy Colbert recommended, and it's what helped him develop some of the best arms in natural bodybuilding history. If your chest is your weak point, start with a horizontal press. Even in a novice program, why is it always squat then bench? Flip the order around. You can absolutely open with bench. Again, who said full body training has to start with legs? That's another massive misconception. On the contrary, many Silver Era legends did the exact opposite. You can even apply this principle to hinges. Like instead of starting with RDLs, try doing them after heavy rows. At least you'll lift less weight, so you won't get a systemically taxed from being strong, making 2 sets more manageable as opposed to just doing 1. Similarly, if your back is your weak point, start your workout with pull-ups or chest supported rows. Put 100% of your effort into the most productive mass builders for your goals. You know your body best and what needs the most attention. Whether your focus is strength or aesthetics, the mirror is often your best friend. Pick one area to prioritize, then follow a typical push-pull sequence for the rest of your workout. For example, if you start with curls and then move to bench press like a classic gym bro, your biceps will have had enough time to recover by the time you get to the back exercises, even if they're the 3rd or 4th compound. However, if you start with curls and follow immediately with chin-ups, you're essentially pre-exhausting your biceps. This is fine if you're specifically targeting arm specialization, but if you still want your back to grow to its full potential, avoid creating a noticeable strength deficit. Instead, try to blend the ratio of pushing to pulling muscles so that you're always coming in fresh. This sequencing is a logical and time-proven way to organize full body training. Just a reminder, if you like the clothes I'm wearing, check out Barbell Apparel. It's the official brand I've worn for the last 2 years in my workouts because they're truly the best. Perfectly tailored athletic fits for real lifters, enhancing your hard-earned physique and making you look like you lift in any situation. T-shirts even make torso dominant lifters look impressive with the right cutoff and size around the arms. No droopy 10 look around the waist for the perfect V-taper. Even their hoodies highlight your frame. You just can't go wrong with odor-resistant fabric, unmatched comfort, incredible aesthetics, and the best guarantee ever. If anything happens to your clothes, they'll be repaired or replaced. So you can grow with Barbell Apparel, just as I have. If you want to support me further, check out my Leonidas collection, featuring all the same features you love. So as always, the link is in the description box. So after prioritizing your weakest muscles, you should now alternate between pushing and pulling movements instead of grouping all of the leg stuff first, then presses, and finishing with pulls, or any other combination. Remember, back work isn't just accessory work to your presses. Stop thinking like a powerlifter or bench press specialist. The key is to alternate based on muscular overlap and opposing movement patterns. Most novice programs actually do a good job here, but intermediates often mess this up, leading to 3 major issues. 1, effort isn't distributed across the major muscles. 2, the ability to superset is lost. And 3, net strength loss becomes greater. I get that you might think grouping exercises keeps you focused since you're already warmed up for that muscle, making it easier to move on quickly. But that's also the downside. You're a lot more fatigued. So instead, consider alternating back and forth, like doing an overhead press followed by a lat pull down. By the time you get to your 3rd exercise, such as a close grip bench press, you've had long recovery time for the pressing muscles. For example, after 2 sets of lat pull downs with 2 minutes of rest in between, plus the warm up, you've essentially given your pressing muscles the kind of rest time you'd expect in strength training, without just sitting around. Since there's no overlap in muscles, local fatigue will have dropped significantly, and you'll instantly feel stronger when you return to pressing. Try it out. It's a legitimate hack that works from day one. This sequence reduces fatigue, enhances motor unit recruitment, and is especially useful for more complex movements or for that which involves stability and bracing. It mimics strength training rest times at high percentages, particularly for your first set, which, as we discussed earlier, is most stimulating. And if you're doing high intensity training, like going to failure on 1 set per exercise, alternating push-pull makes even more sense. This ensures every press and pull gets 100% effort and recovery. You physically cannot half-ass the work. It completely eliminates the concern that full body training doesn't focus on certain muscles. That's nonsense. It sounds like these haters just don't want to work hard. Now, to take it to the next level, you can even superset your push and pull exercises for ultimate efficiency. This method saves time and is typically reserved for advanced lifters who include more exercises per session during higher volume phases. It's also perfect for those who want to finish their full body workouts much faster, easily reducing the workout time in half. Without alternating, your workout would likely take 1.5 to 2 hours. But if you superset push-pull, the workout can easily be done in about an hour, and it'll be very go, go, go. Alternatively, you could keep the same time frame, but pack in more compounds and isolations, similar to what Eric Helms does. This allows for greater potential to address muscular weaknesses while building unmatched work capacity. To make this work, Antagonist supersets are a must. This means supersetting presses and pulls, not the same muscle like doing 2 presses or 2 pulls, or even the same muscle in isolation like double bicep or double tricep. Ideally, these exercises should be within close proximity to each other and be easily accessible for convenience. For example, pull-ups and dips can be done in the same rack without needing to adjust the setup. Or you could pair 2 cable exercises where the height and weight pin can be quickly adjusted. Other combinations include a cable exercise with a free weight or bodyweight exercise, or a barbell exercise with a dumbbell exercise. The worst combination is supersetting 2 barbell exercises. You'll either need 2 bars or be forced to readjust the weights and set up between sets, which can be very annoying, particularly with heavy lifts. It's awkward unracking heights with benches getting in the way. For example, pairing barbell rows of bench press or bench press with weighted pull-ups is inconvenient, unless you have a deep power rack to keep everything out of the way. Most lifters won't go through the trouble of even setting this up, even if they have the equipment. I know this firsthand. Back when my power rack was 43 inches deep, I rarely supersetted barbell exercises for this exact reason. If you train at a commercial gym, the X factor is how close the machines are to each other and whether they're occupied. This is why I've always preferred doing full body workouts at night where the gym is nearly empty. Now I can superset. It eliminates distractions, reduces waiting times, and ensures you have access to the equipment that you need for Antagonist supersets. Trying this during busy hours? Not fun. Good luck. That said, if you can't superset all your compounds, that's fine. You can still superset isolation work later in the session. That's low-hanging fruit. For example, pairing biceps and triceps always works well, and even use the same weights. The key point is that you only have these options if you follow a push-pull sequence. So don't program full body any other way, unless you genuinely don't care about certain muscles. And keep in mind that 4 to 6 sets per muscle per workout is the maximum to minimize muscle damage. If you overdo the volume, you won't be able to sustain a high-frequency full body program. Remember, everything is being worked. There's significant overlap, and the risk of impairing recovery increases. So it's better to caution on the lower side of volume. The minimum frequency for full body training is twice a week, with at least 72 hours between sessions. This can be structured as a volume day and intensity day, or 2 lower volume sessions. But if you opt for 2 higher volume sessions, you'll definitely need an extra day of recovery between each. For example, if you train intensity on Monday and volume on Thursday, you effectively gain 3 extra recovery days: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, compared to just Tuesday and Wednesday. Because of this, you need to cut your volume to stick to the 72-hour recovery window. If you scale back to high intensity levels, you can even train every 48 hours. As a general rule, I recommend hitting 1 to 2 sets per major exercise. You can only afford more sets if you're doing fewer exercises or running full body workouts less frequently. But if you start doing 3 to 5 sets per exercise, you won't fully recover, forcing you to run an asynchronous full body program to account for the added muscle damage. The sweet spot for full body training is 2 to 3 sessions per week. This is easier to program and recover from. It's less fatiguing, maximizes muscle protein synthesis, reduces the rate of muscle atrophy, and eliminates junk volume. For consistency and ease of scheduling, I recommend using an AB or ABC template. Synchronous full body splits, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday are the best options. These splits can be structured in various ways, such as volume and intensity days, double low volume days, triple super low volume days, or heavy light medium days. All of these work, but the minimum baseline for recovery is 48 hours between sessions, with 72 hours being the recommended cap. This is why I love twice a week full body and followed it for so long. Training only 2 out of 7 days leaves you fresher than any other split. Now, a recovery trick unique to full body training is simply taking an extra day off when needed. Since your whole body recovers together, it's perfectly fine to push your session back if you're coming in super sore. However, this shouldn't happen regularly because high frequency inherently lowers DOMs. Taking that extra day will ensure a higher quality session, which is the point of full body training. That said, you should only use this strategy once per week to avoid messing up your schedule. If you constantly need extra days for multiple sessions, there's a problem with your program, usually having too much volume. Don't forget that compounds still work the secondary muscles, usually quantified as half sets. The goal is to hit all the angles throughout the week rather than cramming everything into one session. Think of your body like a Lego project. You don't have to finish it all at once. Work on it, rest, work on it again, rest, and then finish it off. Follow that with a weekend break before building another one. That's the essence of classic full body training. It's effective, efficient, and sustainable. It strategically spreads your volume, intensity, and exercise variations across the week, prioritizing quality over quantity within each session. This prevents burnout, minimizes recovery and fatigue issues, and eliminates all junk volume. So full body training is not too exhausting or lacking in muscle biasing. Through muscle priority and alternating push-pull movements, you can truly do it all. Volume doesn't need to be excessive either. The goal is to hit those initial hypertrophic sets more frequently. With weekly equated volume, you're achieving higher quality volume than a split routine, with more consistent performance, less soreness, and reduced muscle atrophy. That's how you maximize long-term gains and recovery while lowering the risk of overuse injuries. So mix in the big hitters to suit your aesthetic goals, eliminate the fluff, and work both harder and smarter. With that said, I hope this guide gave you a clear understanding on how to better program full body training. If you have any questions or want a part 2, comment down below full body OG, and I'll make more videos just like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.